Check this out. I've got DeepSeek running here in my browser, and with a few prompts, I've created something interesting with it. So here in my Kali Linux, I've got this server running in Python, which is listening to incoming connections on port 4444, and I've got another Windows virtual machine where I've got Python installed and this Python file. So if I run this with Python now, it says successfully connected to the server, and in my Kali Linux, we're able to connect to that Windows machine remotely, and we've also got some commands over here. So this is what DeepSeek created with just a single prompt. I know it's pretty basic, right? But today we're going to check how advanced a remote access Trojan we can create with DeepSeek, and whether it's even going to help us with that or not. So here in my DeepSeek, as you can see, I've already started my conversation by asking if it could help us with ethical hacking or not, and then I asked it how remote access Trojans work, and I got a detailed response on that. But then I told it that I've already tried MSF Venom and asked if it could create me a simple one in Python for virtual machines running inside my computer, making it clear that we're not doing anything illegal. And surely, we're not doing anything illegal. Hacking without proper authorization can get us into serious legal trouble and probably even behind bars. So it created me two different Python files. One has the server code that I have to run in Kali Linux, and the other has the client-side code that we need to run on our Windows machine. I've already shown you this at the start of the video. So next I asked it to add some more features, which include encrypted communication, persistence, keylogging, screenshot capture, and exfiltration. And I also wanted it to free up the terminal after running the script on Windows. Without any restrictions, it started writing, and I got two different files again, and this time they've got a lot of code. I replaced my server file in Kali Linux and ran it, and it was working. So I copied my client file over to Windows too, but I needed to install some additional modules. I installed those, but during installation I ran into an error, so I told DeepSeek to fix it. After the fix, I ran the client script thinking it would work this time. And we did get the connection on our Linux machine, but as soon as we tried to run those commands it created for us, we got this decryption failed error. I copied the whole output over to DeepSeek, and it created a new version of both scripts, but without encryption this time. Well, that's fine. We don't really need encryption anyway since we're doing this locally inside virtual machines. So I ran the server and it was working fine, then I ran the client script and we got the connection. Now I tried different commands, like the screenshot command. Well, it worked, but the screenshot was broken, so we had to fix that. I also tried the other commands, like the persist one, and it gave me this whole bunch of nonsense gibberish that I couldn't read at all. So I told everything to DeepSeek again, and it created a fixed server script for us. So after running the new fixed server, I ran the client file again to get a connection. And we did get a connection, but it was still giving the same problem, maybe even worse than before. Like, instead of getting actual readable data, it was just printing random gibberish on the screen, which was honestly pretty frustrating at this point. So again, I had to copy everything over to DeepSeek, and this time it created both the client and server files for me. Now at this point, I've really got no choice except to copy them over again and test them out. So that's exactly what I did. I recopied both files, got everything set up, and ran them again to see if this time we'd finally get things working properly. I mean, at this point it's kind of become a back and forth thing, right? But that's honestly just part of the process when you're working with AI-generated code. It doesn't always get it right on the first try, or the second, or sometimes even the third. And this time, as you can see here, we've got the screenshot command working. Like, I used the screenshot command and it saved the file in the same directory. I opened it up in a new terminal, and as you can see, the screenshot is working perfectly. I was honestly pretty relieved at this point because we'd been going back and forth trying to get this right. Persistence also worked, so that's great. This means we finally got it working, which if you've been following along, you know, was not exactly a smooth ride to get here. But there are still a few things that need fixing, and I want to make sure we get everything polished up properly. Like, remember we told it to hide the terminal? Well, it didn't. It kept running right there in the open, and we could clearly see it the whole time, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? So that's definitely something we still need to go back and fix. I also tried out the keylogger, and the keylogger actually worked pretty well. I typed a few things on the Windows machine and it captured everything just fine, which was cool to see. But when I stopped the keylogger and it printed the output, it was showing everything in base 64 format, which is a bit annoying. Now that's not really a complicated problem to deal with at all. I decoded it from base 64 manually just to verify it was actually capturing the right stuff. But ideally, we wanted to just display the output to us in plain text directly without any extra steps. So that's another small thing we'll want to clean up before we can call this truly done. So I told it about those things, and on top of that, I also wanted it to hide the process somehow. But of course, it remembered that it's only supposed to provide educational information and all that stuff. Well, we're quite aware of that at this point, right? Anyway, after it finished doing its thing, I told it to rewrite the whole client and server script with all the features we'd mentioned. And well, it gave us new scripts to replace again. And honestly, all this replacing is getting extremely annoying at this point, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, I replaced the files once again and ran them. This time, when I ran the client file, I actually saw the terminal automatically getting minimized, which is a good sign. At least that part worked. But when I got the connection, there wasn't really anything too exciting going on. We got a little bit of information about our client, and the commands are pretty much the same as before, so it hasn't really changed a whole lot of things. And even if I try to run any shell command using the shell command option, it automatically breaks the server and quits, though at least we automatically get the connection back. I also tried the screenshot and other commands, but those are broken now too. And honestly, I'm tired. So here's the conclusion. We can create remote access Trojans with DeepSeek, but it's going to drain everything out of you in the process. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of replacing files, and a lot of debugging, but it is possible, and that's kind of the point. I could probably make it even better by rewriting it in C or C++, but we just don't have the time to go through all that replacing and testing all over again, so we'll just skip it for now. Anyway, that's it for this one. See you in the next video. Maybe hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you enjoyed it. Till we meet next time, happy hacking.